Before we can even begin to understand the specific laws of any given nation, we really have to ask a much more fundamental question, like what actually is a state? Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of state science to figure out the theoretical underpinnings of the state itself.
And just to make sure our exploration is rooted in the highest academic standards, we're looking at material that was rigorously compiled by the Legal Studies Material Compilation Team. So all the definitions, the theories, and the structural comparisons we're unpacking today, they're drawn directly from recognized university curricula. We're getting the real deal here.
Okay, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with an introduction to state science, then look at the material object, check out theories of the state by experts, compare state science versus constitutional law, run through our bibliography, and wrap up with an academic reflection. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Introduction to State Science.
So it's absolutely essential to recognize George Jelinek. He's widely known as the father of state science. Through his monumental 1905 work, Allgemeine Staatslehre, he brilliantly systematized the whole study of the state. You see, before Jelinek, studying the state was kind of tangled up with all these other social sciences. But he carved it out as a distinct theoretical discipline that investigates the state not just as a legal structure, but as a universal social phenomenon. It was a real game changer.
Moving on to Section 2. The material object of state science.
Now you might be wondering, what exactly are we analyzing when we study this subject? Well, the crucial point is laid out right here in these three pillars. We are studying the state, but definitely not as a specific, concrete country. We aren't looking at, say, the Republic of Indonesia, the UK, or Japan. Instead, we're looking at the state strictly as an abstract, general, and universal concept. We're asking the big question, what is the essence of a state? Completely detached from specific times, geographical borders, or historical conditions. It's literally the pure theory of the state.
Which brings us to Section 3. Theories of the state by experts.
Let's kick things off with Max Weber's foundational sociological definition. This brilliantly illustrates the state's unique claim to legitimate physical force. I want you to notice the word monopoly here. Weber recognized that in any given territory, only the state has the legal right to use coercion to maintain order. Whether it's the police or the military, that authorized use of force is the defining hallmark of the state, at least according to Weber.
Now, in sharp contrast to Weber's heavy focus on physical force, let's look at John Locke's perspective. He frames the state purely as the result of a foundational social contract. For Locke, the state doesn't just emerge from coercion, but from consent. It's an organization that's born because individuals in a society mutually agreed to form it for their collective benefit and protection. Makes perfect sense, right?
And that brings us to the highly authoritative voice of Professor Miriam Budiarjo, an absolute titan in political science. Her definition beautifully synthesizes those previous two concepts we just talked about. She acknowledges the element of legitimate power, the ability to force compliance across all groups in a territory, but she pairs it with a purpose, to implement common societal goals. So it is power, for sure, but it's power wielded to actually achieve the collective aims of the society.
Section 4. State Science versus Constitutional Law.
Okay, so a very common point of confusion for law students is separating all this pure theory from actual legal practice. Let's break it down. State science provides that universal theoretical foundation. As scholars like to say, it studies the state at rest. We're looking at its origins, its essence, its general forms, completely without worrying about how it operates day to day. Constitutional law, on the other hand, is highly practical and concrete. It studies the state in motion. It looks at exactly how a specific government is structured, how its institutions interact, and the positive law of a specific nation. Basically, state science is your foundational theory, and constitutional law is the applied practice.
Textbooks like this one here from Udayana University really form the academic backbone of all this. They bridge these highly abstract theories directly to the minds of undergraduate law students. This is exactly how the concept of the state at rest is transmitted in university halls, fully preparing students long before they ever crack open a constitution to study the state in motion.
All right, Section 5. Bibliography.
These are the key texts that provide the necessary scholarly grounding for the theoretical frameworks we've been systematically unpacking today. From Jelinek's historical 1905 masterpiece that literally birthed the discipline, all the way to modern standard references by Suhino, Budiarjo, and Busra. These works are absolutely the essential pillars for anyone who wants to deeply study the state.
And hey, just a quick reminder for everyone watching, this explainer is purposefully designed as a permanent online teaching module to support your legal education journey. Whenever you feel like you need to refresh your memory on the fundamental abstract nature of the state, this structured breakdown is going to be right here for you as a highly reliable reference.
Section 6. Academic Reflection.
Okay, before we completely wrap up our academic deep dive today, we really need to challenge our newly acquired theoretical understanding. So I'm going to leave you with this pretty heavy Socratic question to reflect on. I want to challenge you to apply these classic theories to the messy complexities of our modern interconnected world. We just learned that the state has absolute internal power. But in an era where global human rights norms and international laws exist, is that sovereignty truly absolute anymore? I want you to think deeply about this tension as you continue your academic journey. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to just keep asking those big questions.